All right. Kieran, check it out. The store is finally ready for the grand opening.
Well, I mean, it looks really good and all, but aren't there supposed to be Halloween decorations? I thought it was Monster Madness.
Oh, geez, I really dropped the ball. Here, stall them.
Speaking of dropped, this video today is sponsored by Drop, formerly known as Mass Drop. They sent us the PC37X Mass Drop X Sennheiser gaming headset. I've been testing it out for a week playing Dying Light. They fit comfortably, and the ear pads are extremely plush.
More plush than this plush.
The audio quality is great, which makes sense because Sennheiser has been making audio products for over 80 years. The PC37X really brings out the immersion in Dying Light because the zombie snarls are crystal clear!
Yeah!
Oh, don't forget to mention there's a microphone on those bad boys.
Oh right, for recording my voice during gameplay. Like this.
I think so, buddy. Oh. That... Oops.
I recommend the PC37X if you're looking to upgrade your current headset.
Check out our link in the description below. There's a $30 off perk for all PC37X purchases.
Hey guys, I'm just reading this Leonard Maltin 2000 movie and video guide. Let's see what he says about The Blob. Endearingly campy classic of cheap sci-fi, has Steve McQueen in his first role, saving a small town from being swallowed up by a giant glop of cherry jello from outer space. Not really all that good, but how could you hate a film like this, especially when Burt Bacharach composed the title song? And that's all he had to say about The Blob.
What do you say about the remake?
I just closed the book. He wasn't that thrilled with that one either.
Okay.
Did he say which one was better?
He gave them both 2 stars. They're both better than Beware the Blob.
Big shout out to Leonard Maltin. He's a big part of growing up in in 80s and early 90s. I was always reading those Leonard Maltin books because he would update them year after year.
Yep.
A lot of movies that I discovered was through Leonard Maltin.
Same here.
Is that from the year 2000?
Yeah, it's from
That's
the
much more. That's much more recent than the ones that I grew up with. But
anyway, we got a lot to say about The Blob.
Well, I definitely do. I mean, this is one of the first times I think we've picked a classic, like a real classic in a while. Yeah. So that's my my territory. But but you guys wanted to do a versus, like the original Blob versus the remake.
1958 versus 1988.
Yes.
And I have to say, it's a good matchup. Like, this is not like a Jurassic Park 2 versus...
I know, where clearly 3 was better. It was so obvious, except for the entire internet. But yeah, this one, I don't even know how to I enjoy both of them so much.
Mm-hmm. Me too, yeah.
I definitely skew way more 88.
I mean, I really love them both, but I always go original. It's very rare. It's a very rare case when I go remake over original. So with me, I'm just a classic kind of guy. So
I mean, we've talked before. You like the original thing more than John Carpenter's thing as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
This was definitely part of a trend in the 80s of remaking cheesy stuff, like
well,
the
not
Thing
cheesy,
remake,
but
and then The Fly. The Fly.
Classic stuff. I mean, the 50s was a classic age of like the when you think alien invasion movies, like the top 3 movies like that it comes up is The Thing, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and War of the Worlds, and then to a lesser degree, Earth versus the Flying Saucers, and they're Forbidden Planet, but that one takes place entirely in space. That's kind of different. But 30 years later, a lot of those filmmakers who grew up watching those movies started remaking them.
Yeah,
so we gotta
really gory, violent, more special effects heavy versions of them.
Yeah. Oh, the 80s was a great decade for effects. I mean, obviously, let's get that out of the way. The effects are way better in the 88 The Blob. There's no way around that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the movie's about special effects.
No.
I mean,
I guess to talk about effects, the only problem I have with the 80s is and there's a problem with a lot of 80s movies, the compositing, like the blue screen compositing. Back then, they couldn't digitally color correct the foreground to match the background. So there's a lot of shots that look cool, like when the giant thing's in the city, but like it kind of takes me out of it nowadays because like the color in the foreground doesn't match the back. Now, you can remaster this and fix that easily. Yeah, which I would hope they would do.
Which is so minor compared to how awesome it is when the Blob is eating away at
that stuff looks great. The in-camera stuff looks great. It's just the composited shots.
But there I am kicking into my own goal here. So, I mean, but it's true. The remake has way better effects, but it was made 30 years later. It had a budget of $19 million, whereas the original was $110,000 or $240,000. I've heard 2 different sources, but either way, way higher budget for the remake.
Was the original Blob made to be kind of made to be bad just to put it out?
It's meant to be a silly movie. It opens with "Beware of the Blob."
It's a Burt Bacharach song, and that song's awesome, by the way.
I love that opening. It's like that James Bond, like psychedelic.
I'm trying to think of like other horror movies that start with like a dancey opening. And I can only think of Friday the 13th Part 3, Return of the Living Dead. For some reason, like they have these dancey songs.
And the thing is, like, you know, it's very charming when you see the Blob attacking the diner or the coming out of the theater, and you can tell it's a cardboard backdrop that's printed.
I will say though, they do a good job of it. Like I could tell what it is for the time. It's fine because we were talking like movies like Beginning of the End with the giant grasshoppers.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a part in that movie where like the grasshopper, it's clearly grasshoppers on a picture, and it starts crawling onto the sky. Like it crawls off the building onto the sky.
Yeah, that's
but the Blob does such a good job of mixing that. Like you can tell, but it's not that bad. It doesn't take me out of the movie.
Yeah. And also those cardboard backdrops still exist, and they take them to Blob Fest. And for a while, at least, Wes Shank was the caretaker. The late Wes Shank, rest in peace. He would take the Blob around in a bucket that still exists today. And so it's one of few movie monsters I can think of where you can actually see it and people go and take pictures with it. When do you don't hear about that with the remake of the Blob?
Well, I guess first explain what Blob Fest is for those.
We gotta talk about
Blob Fest. Okay, the movie The Blob was not shot in Hollywood. The original Blob. It was shot in around like Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. And this movie was low budget. It was just made by locals. And it has that small town charm to it. But also in the town where they filmed it, the movie theater, the Colonial Theater, they reenact the running out scene annually. They do it like every July. They have Blob Fest, and I did a whole documentary on it, which you should check out. It's called Blob Town. So look that up on YouTube. With the remake of The Blob, you don't hear about a Blob Fest. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't have one, but I don't think they did. I haven't heard of it. I mean, if they did, I would love to come to Blob Fest, Louisiana, which is where they shot the remake in Louisiana. I would love to come down for a Blob 88 Fest, but you don't hear about it.
I know.
They only have Blob Fest for the original, from what I know.
I will say, if you get a chance, if you're in the area, definitely check it. It is really fun to watch the Blob in the theater, especially the part where it attacks the Blob. Where when it attacks the theater, it's just so surreal. It's like, oh, I'm there right now.
Yeah, you could be in the seat where they're sitting when the old man is like, you kids, knock it off, quiet down. But anyway, they get really interactive. Like during the movie, it's almost like a Rocky Horror type of thing where there's certain lines where every time Steve McQueen goes, it's like a blob.
That cracked me up. First time I saw it in the theater, I'm like, that's fun. Because he does it so many times.
So was this Steve McQueen's first movie? I don't know the Steve McQueen.
Maybe not his first
filmography.
His first breakout, for sure. He might have done something before, but this was the first one.
Because I think he was born in like 1930 or something like that. So he was like, what? He was 28?
Yeah, he was not a teenager.
He was 28 playing like a 17-year-old? Yeah. Really weird.
He's good at it, though. He's really good at it. I can see why he took off compared to some. I mean, the other actors are fine, but I can see why he took off.
I mean, Steve McQueen, the scene that stands out to me is when the cop pulls him over for racing backwards, and the cop comes over and he's like, "Oh, hi, Dave." Like he knows the police officer by first name because he gets in trouble so much. And then when he's like, "So what are you up to?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know, Dave. Like whatever it is you think I was doing." Like the way he kind of just he does this kind of like neck movement and kind of slouches into his wheel. Like he knows he's in trouble. But
that stuff was okay. But the dialogue was so bad in that scene. It was almost like he ad-libbed the whole scene. It was very awkward.
I think it's fine. I like all the characters in the original. Like they just seem like all friendly and nice. Like I know the two guys race, but they don't hate each other afterwards. It's not like there's a rivalry.
Yeah, because in a modern movie they would have slashed his tires. And
it would have been like the remake where the two guys don't like each other.
Yeah.
Also, can I talk about? I love how the remake builds that one guy up to be the main character,
and he dies
he's kind of like Steve McQueen, and then they just kill him.
Yeah. Well, he dies, which I do have to compliment it for doing something unexpected.
That is very unexpected.
Yeah, but then the other guy in the leather, I think he's the
Kevin Dillon,
the Entourage guy.
Yeah, Matt Dillon's brother.
Yeah, so he's I mean, he's kind of like they're trying to make him the Steve McQueen after that, but there's nobody in this movie as good as Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
I mean, Shawnee Smith is really good, who later became the main Saw villain after
Oh,
Jigsaw.
yeah, right. There's a couple cameos, too. Good old Jack Nance from Eraserhead in Twin Peaks is in it. He's there for one scene.
Yeah.
They got Jack Nance for like an hour, and then we were saying Emil from RoboCop is in it.
Yeah.
I think he's the guy who gets bent backwards,
Yeah,
right?
surprisingly,
that's some good trivia.
He got like in RoboCop, he was like a boily, mutant, awful monster. But in this, his back just breaks in half.
I was expecting him to get melted by the blob.
Yeah, so I mean, there's just no Steve McQueen equivalent. Like he has that star power that you just can't duplicate. Another thing I really like about the original over the remake is that even though we know the actors aren't actually teenagers, they're playing teenagers, and this is in the 50s, and you didn't really see a lot of movies in the 50s where teenagers were being teenagers. The 80s, you have plenty. I mean, the 80s, there's so many movies with teenagers.
Oh, like every John Hughes movie.
Yeah, like, I mean, every Friday the 13th or every, slasher movie. In the 50s, it was more unique because typically the stars were always adults playing adults. Now you have teenagers as the heroes. You really didn't see that, where usually whenever a teenager would show up, they were the delinquents,
Right.
So that's what I think was really special. And there's no movie that I can think of that is such a good time capsule of the 50s because, I mean, you've seen movies afterwards where they depict the 50s, like Grease, but this is really made in the 50s, showing the 50s. It's a time capsule.
I mean, compared to Blob 88, that's just like another, action, horror, suspense type movie. It doesn't really encapsulate the generation, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I also like that the original is more family friendly because, I mean, we have plenty of gory, R-rated movies. That's fun.
Nobody melts.
That's true.
Yeah. Like I can show the original Blob to my kids without the 80s one has like condom jokes and stuff.
Oh my God. Can I talk about the condom joke?
I love it.
This is my favorite. Whenever I think of the 80s Blob,
Ribbed.
Whenever I start, because I know I like that movie, but I don't watch it that much, and I'm like, oh, what did I like about that movie? And the guy goes to buy condoms at the pharmacy, and the pharmacist is giving him selection, like regular or ribbed. And he's like, oh, I'll take the ribbed. And then later on he goes to a date, and she's like, let me introduce you to my dad. And it's the pharmacist, and the dad's like, ribbed. I burst out laughing every single time.
And I remember just after seeing that as a kid, I'm like, what's ribbed? Can someone explain this to me?
Well, what's funny is that kid didn't even show up with condoms because it was like his friends or whatever. Like he tricked them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're like, oh, it's not me buying them. It's for my friend. He's going to go, hang out with this chick tonight or whatever. And it turned out to be his daughter.
Yeah, so it still preserves the likability of the character who you're supposed to like.
Who then melts.
Yeah, who then gets killed.
I will say, the original is definitely more family friendly. Like the little kid in that movie that shoots the cap gun at the Blob, he makes it out okay. The little kid in this movie that takes his friend to horror movies, which reminded me of me as a kid, he just gets melted by. They kill a kid in this movie.
Oh,
they melt him horribly.
I love that kid because he's wearing headphones in the movie. I'm glad he died.
Oh my God,
I fucking hate that kid in the Blob. 1958, I hate him.
Okay.
I related to the kid in the 80s because when the mom yells at him for wanting to go to a horror movie that the kid is going to take him to, I was that kid who got all my friends to watch horror movies, and then their parents would complain to my parents about me showing them horror. So I really related to that. What's the horror movie they're saying? It's like Power Tool Massacre. It's like a rip-off Friday the 13th.
Garden Tool.
That is like it's like the first one where it's intentionally funny. I love when they're just like, oh, he's trimming his hedges at night. That's bizarre. And it's clearly a killer.
Yeah, because in that scene they cut back to it as if it's not the movie.
Yeah.
So you think that the Blob's gonna kill some other people. Oh no, it's Jason Voorhees, the gardener. But going back to how much I hate the kid in 1958's Blob.
He's pretty terrible.
Oh my God,
they couldn't find a kid who could
I wonder if that's
words.
the reason why he hasn't come out lately. That he's been. I don't know. Maybe he has, but he's like the one actor from the Blob who is probably alive still.
Yeah.
But never is. I haven't heard of him making coming out at all and being involved in Blob Fest or anything like that. And maybe it's for that reason. Maybe he hates his acting. I don't know.
He's just really annoying.
Or maybe he just doesn't care. It's probably he's like, yeah, I was in some stupid movie when I was like 6. I don't care.
It's also his fault they ran in the diner at the end.
Oh yeah, the Downingtown Diner, which is still exists, right? It's still there.
Well, child actors. I mean, like the child and Son of Frankenstein. He does a lot of conventions. Donnie Dunnigan, I think's his name, who's also the voice of the young Bambi. But a lot of those kid actors back then, that was just before child acting got good.
Yeah, they're just show up and say stuff. It wasn't.
Yeah, I think it was excusable then. Like it wasn't expected that a child actor is gonna be.
I mean, he's not in the movie that much. It doesn't.
I'm just ragging on him to be a genius. He's fine.
Good job, Justin.
You're being mean to the
6-year-old. A 6-year-old in 1958. You really got him, Justin.
Now he's old enough.
He's old enough. He can take it now. Yeah. I mean, so we mentioned that the remake does have its funny stuff.
Yeah,
it is very humorous, but
the remake's way more of a comedy.
Yeah, but I find the original funnier because there's like the maid who wants to clean up the crime scene, and then there's the cop who wants to wait till morning. He's the procrastinator. He's like, oh, we'll take care of it in the morning, and he says it so many times it could be a drinking game.
Yeah.
And then there's the jerk cop, who is a super trope of that, and then there's a cop who's playing chess with the other one over the radio.
Yeah.
There's so many weird bits.
They have I like that they have little character quirks and personalities. They're not just generic cop. And it makes you care about the characters a little bit more. Like, oh, that guy, I want him to finish his chess game. I hope he doesn't die. Oh, that one guy's got a war record. Now I like him. He's a veteran. I don't want him to die. It's not just like the remake where it's like, I'm generic government guy in containment suit, and then he gets killed. It's like,
no character is perfect, but you kind of still like the characters in some ways,
What are you talking about? In 1988 Blob, they freaking have the sheriff who they're building up. They're about to put him in a relationship with the waitress.
Oh yeah,
and then they fucking murder him for no reason.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like the containment suit guys. I don't really care, except for the one, the late what was his name? The guy who played Lord Zed. We just mentioned his name before.
That guy was Lord Zed.
Not that guy. One of the containment suit guys is the voice of Lord Zed. He died last week.
It was Axelrod.
Axelrod, yeah. He played Jennings. So I was watching the movie, and I'm like, oh, that's that guy. So that made me, I felt bad for that guy. None of the other containment suit guys.
Oh, okay.
But the original Blob, I care about all those characters.
Take that, fake Morgan Freeman.
Oh, and then, by the way, that whole Cold War experiment thing where the Blob is like, Cold War experiment. It's an interesting idea. Yeah. I think for the remake, I mean, you got to do something new.
Yeah.
But I still like it better when...
in the original, in 1958 Blob, the Blob just comes from outer space and it's here. Fuck you.
It was just typical. There was a lot of movies that did that.
I prefer because it has you wondering, is there a blob planet? Like, is there either a planet made of blob or it's just a planet where blobs are...
Yeah, Planet of Blob.
And the thing is, you never get to find that out. It's a complete mystery. Well, where did the blob come from and what is its home planet? Or it doesn't even come from a planet. But does it come from like a nebula? What is this thing?
Yeah. And then the 88 Blob, it was a microbe that they put on a satellite and radiation hit it. And I guess they made a monster of it and crashed. I don't know if that was their purpose or if it was an experiment gone wrong, but I know they want to weaponize it, which they say in like 4 sentences. It's not a big deal.
And the only problem I have with that is an episode of Seinfeld spoiled that ending for me. Oh. Jerry brings it up.
Oh, really?
He's like, yeah, you made this thing, and then it came back. Same thing happened in The Blob, and I only saw the original at that point. Okay. I'm like, that didn't happen. And then I'm watching the remake. I'm like, oh, Seinfeld, you ruined it for me.
There's always the argument with these movies. Whenever there's a remake, it's like, oh, well, the remake's scarier. It's like, well, it's always going to be scarier. And you can take anything and make it scarier. Like, there's a movie called Pinocchio's Revenge. A puppet whose body count grows longer than its nose. Now, the thing is, it's like The Blob was meant to be a fun movie. Like we said, it opens with that silly song. I don't think of The Blob as a scary thing. Although I did see parts of the remake before I saw the original as a kid, and that was shortly after. I think it was in theaters, and there were some commercials on TV, and I remember some of those shots where it's coming out of the drain. And, and I remember that freaked me out. And then Muppet Babies did an episode on the Blob where they would use clips. Like the Muppets think that Nanny is making some kind of slop that they have to eat. when really she's making like glue for their wallpaper in their nursery, but she's like, I got some kind of surprise. And then the whole episode, they're wondering what it is. So it goes into these like dream scenes where the blob is attacking them.
Oh, that's funny.
And they use all clips from the original. And that was some of the first times I saw that too.
Can we edit the Muppet Babies with the 1988 Blob instead?
Yeah.
We can find that episode.
Or even edit the original with the remake. That might be interesting.
I actually thought about it. I was telling Tony, like, what if, they showed, like it's 1958, you go to the theater to see the Blob, and the 88 one plays instead. It would probably fuck you up mentally, because like you wouldn't have because so much happened in 30 years of just filmmaking, where now like they're showing more guts and gore and all that stuff. Like it would freak you out.
I was going to say, real quick, if we're talking about our first exposure to the Blob, aren't they watching a trailer for the Blob in Greece? Did I get that right?
They are, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that was my first, because I watched Grease a lot as a kid. We got to do Grease at some point.
Okay.
And I remember, like, that was my first, like, I'm like, what the hell is the Blob? And, like, my grandfather was like, oh, it was a movie, Blob monster attacks. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Well, my exposures was, seeing commercials and trailers for the remake.
Yeah.
Muppet Babies. And then Ghostbusters 2, which came out the year after the remake.
Yeah.
So when I saw Ghostbusters 2 in the theater, and that scene where the blob comes through, or the river of slime, comes through the bathtub, that freaked me out.
Oh, yeah, that scared me as a kid.
And then it covers the museum, which is like the diner from the original.
Yeah.
But they also have a scene during the montage when people are running out of the theater, and then the blob is like coming up through the drain and everything. So, I mean, so there was a lot of blob going on.
The Blob is still, like, influencing stuff today. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Kurt Russell was, like, planning these things all over the galaxy. When they get activated, they're giant blobs. And when it shows Earth, it's a blob eating a town.
Yeah.
So, like, it's still, like, people are still pulling from, like, the Blob and those old kind of movies.
I just finished watching the Amazon series on The Expanse.
Yeah.
And they have, like, this proto-molecule thing, spoiler alert, and it just takes over and converts even machines. So it turns spaceships, planets, anything into goo, not just people. Because they never say why the Blob hunts people instead of everything.
Yeah.
And does it detect heat?
I think maybe...
it does eat... Well, in the first movie, I don't think it doesn't kill any animals in the first movie.
They think it does, but then you find out the dog's okay.
But the second movie, the second movie, there is a sequel, Beware the Blob, also known as Son of Blob, which actually it can't really be a sequel because they're watching the original Blob in it. But it's
like the second Human Centipede.
Yeah, or Blair Witch.
Really?
Blair Witch 2, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the first victim of the Blob in the sequel, the very first victim is a fly. When it's small, when it's just a sample that a guy takes from the Arctic. But then the next thing it eats is a cat. And that always pissed me off whenever they kill cats in movies.
I think maybe it had to do with, in both versions, it comes in contact with an old man. And then, like, maybe it gets, like, the taste of flesh for that.
Oh, yeah.
Can I talk about the old man from the remake real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So the old man in the remake, he had a very, very diverse acting career. Allow me to read some of the credits he was in, okay? A Change of Seasons, he played older man. The Day After, he played old man with family squatting at Dr. Oak's home. In Amazing Stories, he played old blind man. In Guilty as Charged, he played old man. In Poodle Springs, a TV movie, he played old man in jail.
Oh.
Mystery Men. You like Mystery Men, right?
I do like Mystery Men.
He played old man.
Oh.
And then Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, he played the old man.
The old man.
Yeah. That show The Riches with Minnie Driver from GoldenEye. He played old timer. And then finally, Uncross the Stars, I think this was his second to last film, he played old man. Very diverse acting career. That guy, he really made a career out of being an old man and everything.
He might be the best old man.
Apparently. Look how many times he played an old man.
It's kind of like the guy who's in Blue from Old School.
Oh, yeah.
He was always old man and stuff. Good for him.
Yeah.
Another thing to note is that even in the original, the blob turns red as it goes on because of the people it's eating. It's like the blood that makes it red.
I never thought about it. I thought it was just,
Yeah, there's that part at the end of the remake, too, where, like, a new blob comes out of it and it's gray, and then eventually it turns red.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, that was cool.
I think who pointed that out to me was Tom Savini. He was at Blob Fest one time, and then I interviewed him, which that clip might be in Blobtown. I forget. Another thing about the Blob, I think I'm trying to think, like, what is the main thing I like the most about it? And I think it's kind of like, there's this story of a boy cried wolf in the movie almost.
Yeah.
So it's the teenagers who are playing pranks, and they're always joking around, and you know, like, they're always up to no good. But then they actually see the blob, and then they're trying to alert the authorities, and then they don't believe them.
They call
because
the area siren and all
Which
that.
has been, like, parodied so much, or done, or just stolen so much in so many other horror films.
Yeah.
To the point where it's, like, kind of annoying when movies do it. It's like, just believe the kids. Just check it out. What's it gonna hurt?
Yeah, because then on top of that, there's like that police officer who has this like story where like some teenager had something to do with like, oh, I forget, the death of a family member or something. Where he's so ever since this event, like he's been like prejudiced against teenagers after that.
Yeah, they kind of glare over it.
Yeah, and like, you know, they have their reasons for thinking teenagers are going to be nothing but trouble. So they're not out of line, but like no character in this movie is perfect.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, everybody has to come together.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they all have to stop their fighting to overcome something that's even bigger.
Which is funny because in the 88 Blob, they actually believe the kids pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Especially like the football player.
Well, the doctor saw the thing rip the old man in half, so he's just like, believe him.
They actually believe him, except for like, you know, the one girl, Shawnee Smith, when she goes like kind of crazy, oh, she's hysterical, whatever.
Yeah.
But then the cops are like, oh yeah, that kid's definitely dead and something's definitely going on.
Yeah.
And the cops go to check stuff out, and you're like, oh, the cop's gonna come and save the day, and then his skeleton just flies by, like, everyone just died. The Blob is bigger than cliche in the 88 Blob. That's why I like the 88 Blob more, because it breaks the mold and the cliche a little bit. And it's very fun, little self-referential a little bit. The comedy's good, the horror is good. I don't know. And mind you, the first time, like, I haven't seen Blob 50 in a long time. The first time watching these films ever, especially back to back, was last night. It's the first time I saw 88 Blob.
Oh, okay.
And then I was like, you know what? I like that a lot more, mainly because I'm like into the pacing. I didn't see it when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because 88 feels like, you know, it opens up on the town. It's so ominous, and the music. And it goes like to the football game. It's more smash cutty, more...
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think the 88's fire.
I think you win it. Like for me, like The Thing and Fly, I like the remakes more. But I think you win either way.
Yeah.
With the Blob, like, just it's hard. It's hard for me to say which one I like. They both do it so well.
How about the remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still?
Okay, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That director's bounced back. He's doing Doctor Strange movies now, but he made a terrible remake. I'm sorry, Scott.
Yeah,
Derrickson.
It was rather forgettable. Yeah. I wish I could say, because every one of these movies had a good remake. Okay, The Thing had a good remake. The Fly had a good remake. Even Invaders from Mars had a good remake. But The Day the Earth Stood Still, I don't think there's been any good remake.
No.
War of the Worlds, kinda.
That was okay.
All right. Yeah.
The end with that kid coming back was stupid, but everything else was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, depends which of the three, which of the three 2005 War of the Worlds movies that all came out in the same weekend.
Something else I want to talk about, much like Back to the Future is in 1955, 1985, 2015. It was 2015, everyone.
3D movies.
Yeah.
In 50s, 80s, and then in
There's
the
that.
2000s.
Yeah, the shark. I want to talk about how if they made a 2018 Blob, 30 years after 88, what would they do? You said Rob Zombie was involved?
It fizzled out, but for a while there was talk of Rob Zombie doing a remake, and I mean, it's one of those things where you hear about it for a while and then it just dissolves, and maybe it'll come back, because I'd be up for seeing another Blob.
I mean, after seeing that scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I was just like, yeah, you know what? I would like to see a whole movie of this. Blob eating things. Yeah.
I think a modern Blob would be really cool. I'm not sure who they get or what they would do. It'd be very much like a video game movie of Katamari Damacy. You ever play that?
No, I never played whatever the hell you just said.
I'm sorry.
Have Joe Dante do it. He directed an episode of Legends of Tomorrow a few years back. That's a show where superheroes travel. And they did like a 50s episode where a meteor hits and it starts turning a town into hawk creatures. But like they got Joe Dante to do it. I'm like, oh shit, that was like actually a really fun episode. I'm like, fuck, just give Joe Dante like millions of dollars to do a Blob movie. I want to see a big budget Joe Dante movie again.
Yeah. So I mean, I go original, but either way, I mean, they're both pretty good.
So original 88, both?
Both. I honestly think they both do everything they set out to do extremely well. You're fine with either. The effects are okay in both. The stop motion in the Blob, there's a stop motion effect where it's like eating the people. That's a little rough. But other than that, like, you have a good time. They're fun. They're very. I enjoy watching the 50s one. I enjoy watching the 80s one. They're great. Watch both.
So we have a complete tie here. So you decide.
Yeah, you guys decide. All right.